Now, we start this out with the U.S. The United States is preparing to send a fresh aircraft carrier to the Middle East as tensions with Iran continue to rise. The USS George Washington is set to replace the USS Abraham Lincoln, which has now been deployed for more than 250 days. The move could maintain a significant American carrier presence in the region as Washington faces growing military pressure from the conflict with Iran. The deployment is aimed at strengthening deterrence, protecting U.S. forces, and reassuring American allies across the Middle East. However, the additional naval presence also risks further escalating tensions with Tehran at a time when Iran has increased its military activity and rhetoric in the region. The move comes as the Strait of Hormuz remains a major security concern, with any disruption to shipping through the waterway potentially affecting global energy supplies. Oil prices have also edged higher on concerns that an escalation could disrupt regional energy flows. The Pentagon's decision highlights the growing military strain on the U.S. carrier fleet as Washington seeks to maintain its operational presence while managing the risk of a wider conflict with Iran. Joining us live from the newsroom is my colleague Mehta Shoran. Thank you very much, Mehta, for joining us. Mehta, what more can you tell us about this?
Well, yes, Asma, the United States is now, according to reports, planning to send the nuclear-powered aircraft carrier USS George Washington to replace the USS Abraham Lincoln carrier, which is currently present there in West Asia. Now, this move is a part of a previously scheduled carrier rotation, but it comes at a critical moment for the United States Navy. The USS Abraham Lincoln has been at sea for an unusually long period while supporting US's military operations, US campaign rather, in Iran. Now, the USS Abraham Lincoln had left its home port in San Diego in November for what was initially planned as a Pacific deployment. However, as tensions with Iran escalated, the carrier we know was redirected to the Middle East in January. And since then, of course, the USS Abraham Lincoln has played a key role in the US military operations against Iran. It was involved in the US bombing campaign, also known as Operation Epic Fury, and has also subsequently supported America's maritime blockade around Iran's ports. And this extended deployment has also of course placed enormous pressure on the ship's crew. This ship, the USS Abraham Lincoln, is now in its 9th month at the sea. It's been there for about 250 days with more than 5,000 sailors and mariners on board. Lawmakers in the US, are also urging that this carrier, the USS Abraham Lincoln, be brought back because of certain reports that are circulating around. They're saying that the sailors on board USS Abraham Lincoln tried to commit suicide and were living in conditions that were not up to the standards. They were suffering from mental health issues, poor sanitary conditions also persisted in the ship. And also this was, the USS Abraham Lincoln had spent roughly 250 consecutive days without making a port call, and this rather represents one of the longest uninterrupted periods at sea for a modern US aircraft, and the absence of regular port visits has become a major concern because carrier deployments are normally structured around periods of operations followed by opportunities for sailors to get ashore, rest, and also access basic services. And this carrier was expected initially to return home in May, and instead its deployment has been extended as the US still continues its military operations in the region. Families of these sailors that are on board the USS Abraham Lincoln have described deteriorating living conditions on the ship, including problems with toilets and laundry services, shortages of basic supplies, There have been complaints about the strain caused by the prolonged separation from families and the lack of opportunities to leave to leave the USS Abraham Lincoln. As I just mentioned, reports have also emerged of several incidents involving sailors considering or attempting to go on board. And there's this report which says that in one incident, a sailor actually did go overboard from the USS Abraham Lincoln last month, but he was quickly, rescued and medically evacuated. The US Navy, meanwhile, has pushed back against suggestions that there has been an increase in suicidal behavior aboard the ship. And the Navy, the US Navy has said that sailors also have access, to mental health facilities, professionals and counselors. Back to you, Asma.
Thank you very much, Meta, for sharing that insight. Please do stay with us as we'll come back to you.